Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom to everyone who's joining us on Facebook, on StreamSpot, and for the first time in a long time, to everyone who's joining us here in the Zwerin Sanctuary. We have the families of our confirmands who will be celebrating this Shabbat together. So a reminder to everyone who's physically here with us to keep your mask on through the service, and for everyone who's at home, you can do whatever you'd like to do at home. That's at your own discretion. We're now going to bring in the confirmation class of 5780.
Goy el goy chereb, lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy chereb, lo yilmedu od milchama. In front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend, and together we'll walk in the path of Hashem.
Each of the parents have a copy of the parents' prayer. So before we ask for the confirmands to sit and we begin our service, if the parents will rise and share the words of blessing for your sons and daughters. Amen. In the best of possible worlds, that's not an easy prayer to be heard. But when you're speaking it through the masks, it's a little bit more difficult. And so Dan's going to lead us in singing Shehachayanu, which is another way of saying those words that you just expressed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh.
please be seated, and Rena's on here if you'll light for us the Shabbat candles. We're on page 120 and 121.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lahad likner, shel Shabbat. As these Shabbat candles give light to all whom behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Amen.
Maya Angelou once said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." Flash back to 4th grade, where the Ramah program began. For those who are unfamiliar, we would learn the backgrounds behind the following prayers and then complete a follow-up written test and chant the prayer with a teacher. 10-year-old me had just finished my first Ramah and was ready to chant the Ve'ahavta, which incidentally is part of my Aliyah today. I then forgot. In response, my friends Rosie and Maya, along with the rest of my peers, supported me through the embarrassing experience. Not only did they chant it with me, but we began to come up with fun connotations to remember the words to the prayers when under pressure. 7 years later, I still cannot sing the Kiddushah without thinking of Mellow Yellow for the line, Mellow Kol Haaretz, and so on. If there was one way to explain the community of the confirmation class of 2021-ish, that would be it. 15 years is a long time. A lot of things can change. The one thing that hasn't changed is the compassion this group has for one another. My peers have seen me through my worst times, my best times, and my better times yet to come. Years from now, I may not remember the meaning behind every prayer or why we eat dates on Tu B'Shvat, but I will always remember the way this group made me feel like I had a place where I belonged. I have made my fair share of mistakes, but I've always felt like I had a place here where I do belong. Thank you.
Thank you, Rena. Rosie, you're next.
We read responsively on page 124. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, and hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
Hi everyone, my name is Rosie Ayers, and I have been a student at Temple Sinai since kindergarten. I have been lucky enough to meet so many wonderful people here and be a part of such a wonderful community. I attend Douglas County High School in Castle Rock, and the population of Jews is almost non-existent as there's less than 10 Jewish kids at my high school. So I have loved going to Temple and feeling welcomed and understood for being Jewish. Temple has allowed me to create so many memories, from my first day here, where some tears from younger Rosie, who did not want to leave her parents, may have been shed, to reading Torah at my bat mitzvah and feeling especially connected to Judaism, to simply playing HQ with the Jew crew during our snack breaks in 8th grade. One of the most important concepts I have learned from my religious school experience is the saying Tikkun Olam, which our class learned from Mr. Dooley in 4th grade. This phrase translates to repair the world, meaning, as Mr. Dooley phrased it, When you leave this earth, it will be a little better than before you arrived. This concept of repairing the world has altered my perspective on how I live my life. Finding one's purpose in life can be difficult at times, but I remind myself that I am here to improve our world, whether that's on a smaller scale, like helping a friend overcome a rough situation, or who knows, maybe receiving a Nobel Peace Prize for solving world hunger. Regardless, this concept has allowed me to develop a greater appreciation and understanding for my purpose in life. Therefore, I move on to the next stages of my life. As I move on to the next stages of my life, I will carry this idea of repairing the world with me wherever I go. Thank you to all my friends and teachers at Temple Sinai for making religious school something I looked forward to. And thank you to my parents for showing me the importance of having faith. Lastly, thank you to everyone on the live stream that's watching.
Thank you, Rosie. Sam?
We're on page 126. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense that these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other. To work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created, and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illuminate all of us, and to bring that vision to life.
We continue on page 138 for Lechad Dodi Likrat Kala.
Yai lai 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 la lai. Yai lai 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 la lai. Yai lai 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 la lai. Yai lai 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Yai lai 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 la lai. Yai lai 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 la lai. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Lechad Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Lechad Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, hishmi'anu el hamyochad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet beletila lechad dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela, lechad dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat Mekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, merosh mekedem nesucha, sov ma'aseh b'machshavah tchila lecha dodi. Likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat Mekabela. Lechad Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech kumi uri, uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaych nigla lechad dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela, lechad dodi, likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Able we rise and face the entrance and greet the Sabbath as a bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה לה יאללה לה לה יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה לה לה.
If you'll be seated, Cora Kronberg will share your piece.
We're on page 144. Exalted and hallowed be God's great name in the world which God created according to plan. May God's majesty be revealed in the days of our lifetime and the life of all Israel, speedily, imminently, to which we say Amen. Blessed be God's great name to all eternity. Blessed, praised, honored, exalted, glorified, adored, and lauded be the name of the Holy Blessed One. Beyond all earthly words and songs of blessing, praise, and comfort, to which we say Amen. When I was younger, I used to go to sleepaway camp. Often when I talk about it, I realize an Orthodox Jewish all-girls camp in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, for 3 weeks sounds really mundane, yet the experiences I had there have been some of the best experiences of my life. Although we did so many fun things, including trips to amusement parks, riding in party buses, and staying in hotels, the activity I always looked forward to the most was Havdalah. The entire camp would sit in a huge circle and wrap our arms around each other and listen to the rabbi's stories and sing. After a long week of being separated, everyone came together and we were able to just enjoy being in each other's presence. This was my favorite time of the week because I always felt a super strong sense of community. Every year that I went to camp, on the very last night of Havdalah, everyone ended up in tears because that meant it was almost time to go home. Everyone came from different backgrounds and states, and the majority of us didn't have many Jewish traditions at home. This meant it would be another year until we would all be together in that same circle, arms around each other, being able to be whoever we wanted. That has always been my favorite part about being Jewish. It doesn't matter how much you believe in God or how many traditions you keep. No matter what, you are always accepted for who you are and loved by the community. I know as I grow up, I might not always keep Shabbos every week or celebrate every holiday, but I'll always be Jewish, which means I'll always have a second family.
Shakach is beautiful. Eliza?
Shabbat Shalom. From a young age, I have always been proud to be Jewish. But for me, I never fully understood what it meant to be a Jew. Yet with time, from all my religious school classes, Jewish summer camp, from preparation to my bat mitzvah, and my prolonged 2 years of being in confirmation class, I've now discovered through 2 important concepts that for me define my being Jewish: my community and the teachings of the Torah. The community that Judaism creates is incredibly unique. When you are with someone and discover that they are Jewish like you, there's an instant connection. Judaism is what connects us, as we share similar values, heritage, and culture, how we approach the world and our life. Being Jewish defines part of our identity. The community that I have built here at Temple Sinai is a crucial part of my Jewish identity and has only gotten stronger throughout my life. Starting with learning all the stories from the Torah, reading Hebrew, learning prayers, and embracing our Jewish culture when we were little at religious school, to spending each summer with kids of all ages from across the world at Jewish summer camp, emphasizing the importance of the Jewish community while having fun, to going to each other's b'nai mitzvahs, getting to see your friends become a Jewish adult, to simply sitting in a giant circle, talking about our lives and our opinions about Judaism, or going out to lunch after confirmation class. Here I have built friendships with amazing people that I will never lose. The second thing I have recognized about being a Jew is the morals from the Torah. I have learned that from each Torah portion, it's not just about the details of each story, but instead the lessons you learn from it. Every time you read the Torah, you learn something new. From a young age, you learn about the tales in the Torah, yet even in the basic format that children understand, you can extract the teachings that are the foundation of Judaism. As you get older, you dive deeper and further analyze the sacred text, debating your opinions, learning the views of others, thinking from a different perspective. Eventually, you discover your own stance, yet the base of my view is based on the morals of the Torah. For me, I try to live by these morals and rules that are hidden within the text. Being a Jew means being a good person, to be loving and kind and help others, to take responsibility for your actions, both good and bad, to be caring and compassionate, selfless, and to embrace and treasure your life and heritage. I have realized that being Jewish isn't just my religion, it is my identity. Judaism has a wonderful community, and the lessons serve as a guide for how I live my life. Rather than being at the end of my Jewish education, it has only just begun. My journey with my Jewish education has been a blessing, and I am forever grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliza. It's beautiful. Let us continue with the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadav v'yitkadash shemei Rabba be'alma divrach hirotev yamlich malchutei b'chayecho b'yom echon u'chayedek ho beit Yisrael bagala bagala uvizman kariv vimeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam ulal me'almaya yitbarach Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitfa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudusha barechu leilan min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram be'alma v'meru amen.
Josh Thorner.
Please turn to page 148.
Well, let's go ahead and rise for the Baruch Hu first as we have the call to worship. Please rise.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam ba'en HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam ba'en.
All right, now please turn to page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons. and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim.
Page 150, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Avta, Amcha Avta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu lemadeta, otanu lemadeta. Al kin Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu u'kumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nizmach b'nirei toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki him chayinu be'orech yameinu u'bahem nege yomam v'layla, nege yomam v'layla. Be'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, ohev amo Yisrael.
Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works, in the living language that it formed? Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please turn to page 154 for the Ve'ahavta. Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. Beware, I'm going to attempt to spell a word. And for all of you that know me, you know that I am a horrible speller. I'm going to spell out the word confirmation, but each letter is going to describe my Temple Sinai experience. It's like an anagram. Let's get started. The first letter is C. C is for connection. There is no connection greater than the one that all of my confirmation class shares. O stands for original. My confirmation experience is different from everyone else's. I have my own stories to tell. N is for noisy. It's no secret that we are not a quiet group of kids. There's never a dull moment when we are all together, whether that's eating pizza in the social hall or debating over a controversial topic like, is soup a cereal? And it definitely isn't. F stands for forever. I have been at Temple Sinai forever, my whole life of 16 years, but it's a forever that I wouldn't trade for anything, and an experience I will remember forever. I is for incredible, and what an incredible experience this is. From when I was younger, practicing my Hebrew alphabet, to this very moment, the word that sums it up is incredible. R stands for rare. Fun fact, the study where we had our confirmation classes is the same room that I was baby named in almost 17 years ago. M is for meaningful. I feel like this one doesn't need an explanation. How could I even try to use words to describe how meaningful this is? A stands for awesome. Now, I do have to admit, there were times where I thought coming to Hebrew school was not awesome. But looking back on it, I'm glad that I was pushed to come to each class. Thanks, Mom and Dad. T is for tasty. I just had to throw this one in here. I mean, if I could see all the snacks and food that I've eaten over the course of my Hebrew education, it would probably be enough to feed every person in this room. This letter is dedicated to all those tasty snacks. I stands for iconic. There is nothing more iconic than a Wednesday night Hebrew school class, and you can't change my mind. O is for obedience. Now, I don't like to admit this, but I am not the perfect child. I have learned my fair share of manners throughout these years. And finally, N. N stands for never ending. The word confirmation is kind of never ending. I mean, 12 letters, really? But even though today marks the end to our formal Jewish education, it is truly never ending. Wow, I did it. I spelled the word correctly. That is quite an accomplishment. Thank you.
Yes, you call. Thank you, Brooke. AJ, would you come and share?
Please turn to page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. We turn to page 158 for the Micha Mocha.
Yai lai lai la lai la lai la lai la lai yai lai lai la lai la lai la lai lai ya lai la lai la lai la lai la lai la lai ya la la lai lai ya la la lai lai Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot osef eleh Nora tehilot osef eleh Malchutecha ra'u vanecha Bokeam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Ze Elianu ve'amru Ze Elianu ve'amru Adonai lo le'olam va'ed Adonai lo le'olam va'ed Yai lai lai la lai la lai la lai la lai Yai lai lai la lai la lai la lai lai Ya lai la lai la lai la lai la lai la lai Ya la la lai lai ya la la lai lai. We now turn to page 160 for Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Vehamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Vehamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim Ushmor tzeitenu Uvoenu Lechaim ulshalom Me'ata be'ad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Vehamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Vehamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people, Israel, all over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapor shekot shalom aleinu, va'akol amot Yisrael, va'Yerushalayim.
Amen.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it. Ferris Bueller. It feels like last week was the last day of elementary school. It feels like last Wednesday was the last day of middle school. And last Friday, it felt like the first day of high school. Man, where has time gone? Over the past few years, I've been running, physically and literally. My life has been a fastball I kept missing. I wish I could go back in the past, take a couple deep breaths, and enjoy the moment. While we shouldn't dwell on the past, we should think about how the past made us who we are. 2020 has been pretty crazy. Everything shutting down, protests, riots, the powerful virus, all out of chaos. I was able to do the things I loved, but in a simpler fashion, and I enjoyed every second of having all the time in the world to get better, and the results showed. Out of all the positive things, there was one main negative thing that stuck out. I am lonely. COVID brought out the truth, and I fought it until I realized it was a good thing in a way. I could do anything, and I spent my time working on myself rather than spending money on others. Nobody or anything is going to stop me from doing the things I love. Do yourself a favor, be yourself, tell others how you are feeling, and continue to do the things you love. Take in the moments because nothing lasts forever. Thank you.
Let us turn to page 163 and we read together in English. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Lucy, I don't you share?
Shabbat Shalom. Like everyone else, I have grown up here at Temple Sinai. I was here when I was an infant, and over those 16 years, Temple Sinai taught me a lot about changes and growth, even when it isn't ideal. I've seen a lot of changes at Sinai, from naming ceremonies to b'nai mitzvahs, weddings and funerals, all of which are life-changing. And then there were also the destruction and rebuilding of buildings, the changes in staff, graduation, etc. But the main thing that I've learned is that it's okay to grow who you are and figure out how Judaism fits into your life. Temple Sinai has given me a community full of caring people who I've developed with over many years. But over those years, I viewed Judaism as something that I was obligated to practice and thought of it as an anchor, even if I did love it. But this past year with COVID-19, it's given my sense of Judaism a new meaning. I have grown to appreciate the tradition and the meaning of it all.
I have learned that my Judaism isn't tied down to a certain group of people, a synagogue, or an activity. My Judaism is always with me, and it's my own and something that I have the power to change. I think that many people struggle with the idea of being more or less Jewish than one another, but I have learned that my Judaism isn't one thing or another, and that at the end of the day, we are all Jewish, and it's all up to our own interpretations, no one else's. I want to really quickly thank all of my classmates, the rabbis, and my friends and family who have all helped me to learn, grow, and change to discover what Judaism means to me. We continue with the Amidah on page 164. Please rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'imaot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Baal Givurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, V'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please take just a few moments to complete the Amidah silently, and when you're finished, please be seated.
We are on page 371. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the blessed Holy One be filled with compassion, for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say,
Amen. The Mishnah Berach on page 371, we want to read these names. I know we have a lot of people watching online. And one of the things that inspires a person to keep going, even through the difficulty of loss, is to see young people taking their leadership and showing and demonstrating hope that the future will be better. And so on this night, we acknowledge special prayers for healing for Estelle Agrest, Ryan Albert, Mike Babbage, Stan and Sandra Bauer, Andy Bean, Emily Belstock, Samantha Bernstein, Paul Bonilla, Steve Bolcom, Arlene and Sydney Brandt, Harold Cohen, Joseph Michael Connor, Cindy Coons, Frank and Aaron DeSena, Jay Dworkin, Marty Einhorn, Tim Emery, Ron Epstein, Ellen Falk, Stan Farber, Jack Fisher and Bob Frischman, Kelly Gates, Morris Ginsberg, Wendy Glasser, Marlene Gottleman, Marcia and Bob Gold, Jeremy Gold, Ellen and Erica Gulnick, Lois Haas, Jerry Hart, Miriam Hoopman, Oliver Jack, Marilyn Jordan, Stephen Koffler, Lori Lavenhar, Fred and Judy Lazar, Audrey and Larry Lazar, Adrian Levy, Juanita Lorenko, Dina Marks, Anthony Marvant, Mary Ann May, Hugh Miles, Nevitt Montgomery, Diane Cushman-Neal, Rafael Ben Ruvain Ufega, Bernie Rogoff, Alan Rosenberg, Donna Santasavan, Diana Savilla, John Schuler, Daniel and Callista Schwartz, Raj Schwartz, Doris Schwartzberg, Norm Sheldon, Joshua Singer, Carol Snoddy, Mark Sorkin, Sheldon Sperling, Ed Steinberg, Betty Stone, Alan Stryker, Barbara Susan, Hal Tabak, Iris Tandler, Yona Victor, Marlene Waldbauman, Valerie Wasserman, Dorothy Weddy, Jill Witchlands, Elaine Yaffe, Esther Jenkinson, and Aidan Zenon. It's a long list, but there are a lot of people out there that need community, that need hope, and hearing their names with the spirit and the energy of young people in a community that cares. That's what we're all about. And so we sing this prayer of healing.
Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Good evening. My name is Charlie, and hi, Isaac and Zach. If you did not already know, today we are reading from a Holocaust Torah. This Torah represents not only great sorrow for our people, but shows perseverance in that light and good will always power through. I attend a Lasallian Catholic high school. It is very different and a learning experience that has helped me grow as a person and embrace my Jewish faith. At my school, we have 5 core principles. One of them is respect for all persons, but this is not always followed. A couple weeks ago, my school found anti-Semitic graffiti in a restroom. When I first read this, I barely even flinched. I was not even surprised. All I said was, "Wow, Mom, listen to this." Being Jewish, I believe you get used to the little anti-Semitic things and sayings. The Jew jokes, comparing things to the Holocaust and concentration camps, or just plain hate speech. Why was I not infuriated when I heard what happened at my school? Why did I feel that others did not care? For me, I feel it was because I see it often, and sadly, I am used to it. For others, I cannot speak for them, but I do know that anti-Semitic hate crimes are rarely broadcasted on TV or social media, and this needs to change. Together, as a Jewish community, we can stand up and persevere through hate. Thank you.
Charlie, that was fabulous. We're about to bring that Holocaust Torah that you just spoke about out from the Aron HaKodesh. Lucy Meyer and Charlie, you're going to help us open up the Ark doors. And as we bring out this very rare and special Torah, if you're able, would you please rise?
Ein kamocha ve'elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor v'ador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch, leolam va'ed. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Harachamim heitiva v'rtzoncha et Zion, tivnei chomot Yerushalayim, tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki becha levad batachnu, melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olami.
We sing the Shema together.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlu Adonai iti, Runurama Shemo Yachdav, Lecha Adonai Hagedula, Behagevura, Behatiferet, Behanetzach, Behadod. Kicho b'shamayim uvaretz, Kicho b'shamayim uvaretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, v'ahid naseh lechol lerosh. Ashlosha devarim, Ashlosha devarim ha'olam omed, Ashlosha devarim ha'olam omed, Ashlosha devarim, Ashlosha devarim ha'olam omed, Ashlosha devarim, Ashlosha devarim ha'olam omed, Ashlosha devarim.
Please be seated. Lucy, I'm going to give you this. This is yours. You'll have that later. So we're going to have a number of the students read. We have them reading from the 19th chapter of the book of Leviticus. It's the Holiness Code. And as you heard Charlie mention, this Holocaust Torah is a rare survivor. It's so old, it predates the standardized writing of most Torah scrolls. And so it's very unusual. It also has Kabbalistic markings within it as well. So it's a very special Torah. And so it took a lot for these students to learn how to read this very difficult Torah, but they did so out of honor. And so first, Joshua, why don't you come on up here? I would like all the students from your prayer books to recite the Torah blessings at the very beginning. So Joshua Thorner, come on up. One, two, three. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Barak Le'elam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Rabanu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah. You don't need this, do you?
Vaydaber Adonai al Moshe lemor. Daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael ve'amarta alechem kedoshim techiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Ish imo va'aviv tira'u va'et shabtotai tishmeru ani Adonai Elohechem.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. And for this next reading, we call upon Rosie for you to share.
Al tifnu el ha'elilim velochem masecha lo ta'asu lachem ani Adonai Elohechem. V'hi titzbehu teva shalamim la'Adonai lirtzonhem titzbehu b'yom tzevhachem ye'ahel umimacharat v'hanotar ad yom hashalishi ba'esh yisaref.
Perfect. Very nicely done. Brooke, you are next.
V'charmecha lo te'olel, uferet charmecha lo telaket. Le'ani v'lager ta'azo otam, ani Adonai Elohechem. Lo tiknovu, v'lo techachashu, v'lo tishachru, yish ba'amitov. Lo teshakuv, Bishmi, Vashaker, Vachatab, Bechelota, Et Shem, Elohechem, Ani Adonai.
Excellent. Very nicely done. Thank you, Brooke. And now, Eliza. And you also don't need this, do you? And you have your own special yod right here.
Lo ta'azoch et re'ah, velo tagzil, lo talin, pa'ulat yishchar. Itcha ad bocher, lo takalel, eresh velifne, irer, lo nitain, mochshol, Veya reta mitlohecha ani Adonai. Lo ta'azo evol b'mishpam lo tisa pene dal velo ha'adar pene gadal b'zitek mishpam amyadecha.
Nicely done. Thank you so much, Eliza. And Rena, I'm going to have you come up, but because this is a really long Torah, even though you're nice and tall, you're going to start up here, and for rehearsal, we've realized that we had to stretch out Anala. It's like 8 feet above. So we realized that this is the one we use, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Before I begin, I know my soft is watching, so using the yod you gave me for my bar mitzvah. Thank you. I'm going to leave it on. Lo talech right here. Lo talech rakil ba'amecha. Lo ta'amod aldam re'echa ani Adonai. Lo tisna et chet bilvavecha. Hochiach tochiach et amitecha. V'lo tisa alav chet. Lo tikom v'lo titor. Amecha va'ahavta l're'echa kamocha ani Adonai.
Yes, that's wonderful. As you're standing here right now, let's recite everyone, if you would, the after blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Thank you so very, very much. We're going to address the Torah. What I want to do gingerly, carefully, is to raise this very fragile but beautiful Torah so that everyone will be able to see. I know that that's one of the treats the confirmands have, and we've had adult education programs as well. As a survivor, the significance of it is that while, yes, as Charlie spoke, there are people that are hateful out there, there are anti-Semites out there, but in every generation we've stood strong. And to have young people come up and confirm this is who we are, and each of you in your own words have said that. You can imagine the generations who read this Torah looking with such pride, Shemayim from heaven, saying, look at these young people, look how wonderful and promising the future is because of you. And so as we raise this Torah, if you are able, would you please rise?
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Yan lai lai lai, yan lai lai lai, yan lai 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 lai, yan lai lai lai. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Yan lai lai lai, yan lai lai lai, yan lai 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 lai, yan lai lai lai. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la. Yan la la la, ya ran la la la, ya ran la 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 la, yan la la la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la.
Please be seated. We'd like to have Sam Humphreys come up and then Josh Thorner for their special readings.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This is one of the craziest times of my life, of everyone's life. We have all been put into new experiences. This is probably one of the first confirmations that's been recorded and streamed, 2 for 1. I've had to learn how to manage time more efficiently because of online school. Teachers have had to learn how to take all of what they have done in the past and completely put it online. However, one of the things that did not change was how Judaism kept pushing on. We endured. My family was able to light Hanukkah candles by Zoom with my grandmother. We sat around the TV and watched the services, and my dogs would stand up and sit down when the rabbi said to. I am proud to say that this is one of the things that makes Jews Jewish. Throughout history, we have been a stubborn and perseverant people, from escaping slavery in Egypt to surviving the Spanish Inquisition, and the list goes on. Today, our perseverance is shown through having this service. We would not let COVID take away a fundamental part of who we are. I liken the Jewish people to a growing reed during a storm. If we're too rigid in our beliefs and try to continue to carry on business as usual, we would endanger our lives. The reed would snap. On the other hand, if we did not hold strong in our beliefs, then we would have let COVID disrupt our way of life. The reed would have been completely bent and unable to survive. In order to thrive, the reed must be able to bend just enough to not snap, but stay rigid enough to survive after the storm. This is something that we have achieved. The Jewish people are directly in the middle. We held strong in our beliefs and continue to hold services. We were flexible enough to realize that things would have to change in order for us to continue. I have never met a Jew who wasn't stubborn. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, very much. Josh, why don't you come and share your words?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
In many circumstances where I find myself in an unfamiliar setting, whether it be in a new class at school or a mixer at some sort of social gathering, I often find myself being asked the same question: how would you describe yourself in 3 words? After a few seconds of pondering over my potential answer to such a small yet daunting inquiry, I usually think of the same 3 words every single time: talkative, weird, and Jewish. Whenever I have described myself as being Jewish, especially in a setting where no other Jews may be present, I have always found myself getting a fair share of strange looks and quiet whispers from those around me. But only after noticing and taking into account these offsetting reactions have I really begun to appreciate the fact that I am Jewish and understand my inner identity at a much deeper level. Growing up, I would always be afraid to remotely mention anything related to me being Jewish around strangers and close friends, straying away from the topic when asked about it, and even blatantly lying about my heritage to minimize the risk of any negativity or judgments from others. Similarly, in the past, I've always felt that I struggled with my identity as a whole, acting out in some pretty strange ways in front of my friends and family, and never knowing how to be my true self around others. But through years of learning how to interact with other people and figuring out the inner essence of my Judaism, I now understand my identity more than ever before. Throughout my life, I have been immersed with Judaism in many different ways, ranging from growing up in a modern Orthodox household with my dad to attending late-night Shabbos minyan at a Hasidic shul in shorts and a t-shirt, to working for a conservative kosher catering company, to being the current regional communications vice president of a Reformed Jewish teen youth group. I have found that Judaism has been abundant in my past and will continue to be abundant throughout the rest of my life. I used to think of identity as being a fixed set of guidelines or restrictions that feed into defining who I am, never changing as time goes on. However, in reality, identity is a messy, intertwined, and constantly altering entanglement of one's personality, experiences, beliefs, and values that build one's inner character and persona. Throughout my years of Hebrew school education and the numerous Jewish events that I have been lucky enough to experience, I have learned not only to embrace the fact that I am Jewish, but also to understand that Judaism isn't something that I should hide or conceal. Rather, it is a focal aspect of my life that is very much intertwined within my identity. Thank you.
Joshua, that was fabulous. Thank you so very, very much. I want to mention that Bob Steen, our Temple Sinai president, is here. He is on duty, took special time in order to be here with us. So as he makes his way up, I'm going to share just a few remarks. I don't know if it was clear from the reading or not, but what the students read so beautifully in this 19th chapter of the book of Leviticus is called the Holiness Code, because it refers again and again to this passage, Ani Adonai Kadosh, I am holy, therefore you shall be holy. And it describes what holiness is. Holiness not in some meditative state. Holiness not just in the recitation of a prayer or a platitude. Holiness in action. Actions that are designed to help even the most vulnerable people in society. Those who are the orphan, the widow, the stranger in our midst. And the Torah says this is who we'll be measured against when we refer to holiness. Will you leave the corners of your field unharvested so that a person not only will be able to feed themselves, but they'll be able to do so without the embarrassment of having to ask, but rather they'll just know that you've provided for them? Will you stand idly by when someone else suffers? Will you be a talebearer? Will you pervert justice? Will you bear a grudge? Will you stand up to a friend and be willing to take on their hurt feelings if you say to them, you know what, I love you too much to let you keep going on this way, but you got to think about your actions. You're hurting yourself and you're hurting others, and what you're doing is not worthy of who the person I know is that you are. And so it concludes with those words, and Rena, you read it beautifully. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. I think through this confirmation experience, as you've learned how to love one another. You've learned that for a long time. Some of you guys have known each other since preschool, for goodness sakes. And during the teenage years, there's lots of challenges, and it's important also to remember, you have to love yourself. You can't allow the bullies and the mean people, no matter what their age, to tear you down, because they're there and they want to pounce on every mistake and every foible and every imperfection, and they'll magnify it and make you feel a little bit less. And if they can make it, they'll try to make you feel a lot less. But you love yourself and feel good about yourself and know that you are loved and lovable, and we have family and community to prove it. And if you love yourself and you feel good about yourself, you'll want to share that love too. Share that love with others. And you'll see it on the faces of people, and you can see it even on a screen, for goodness sakes. Those little squares, they can't hide the fact that there are people who are suffering. And you can look in their eyes and say, this person needs a call, this person needs a lift, this person is going through a time. And I know over the years that you guys have done that for each other. You've lifted each other up. And I know that you are that way for so many others in the community. Holiness. Kedoshim tihu ki ani Adonai kadosh. Be holy, for God is holy. Be holy as you are. Be holy as you go forward. And with that, we ask for God's blessings upon you. Amen. Mr. Steen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Usually at 7:15 on a Friday night, I'm introducing myself by saying, hello, I'm Officer Steen, license, registration, and insurance. Not to steal the youngest child's thunder in the room, but 3 weeks early, I'll say Manishna Halayla Hazeh. Why this night different from any other night? Because I get to say hello. I'm Bob Steen, president of Temple Sinai. And on behalf of the board of directors, and the board of trustees of Temple Sinai, and on behalf of the teachers and our education director, Ron Leff, I can share with you how proud we are, but to say that we're proud is an understatement. As some of your children have already said, 2020 was a little bit odd. Not even. And it led us to really understand the idea of perseverance. The idea that if you really want to attain something, you can never give up, nor should you ever give up. So, for tonight, it's my double honor to say Mazel Tov. Congratulations to you, to your family, to your parents, and thank you for making us proud. Thank you. Shabbat
Thank you,
Shalom.
Bob. Don't go anywhere, because on behalf of Rabbi Kallman and our Director of Education, Ron Leff, and Lisa Thorner, I think Mommy can come on up here, for goodness sakes. And Ron's right behind. I don't know if you know, but Ron's been directing the camera all over, and Dan Yolis, who has been so wonderful in getting the kids with their music. We have special presentations to each of you. And so, Ron, you want to come over here and make the official announcements? And you guys hand each one. So the kids, put your books on your chair, and when you hear your name, come and grab the Tanakh and the certificate, and know that it comes from love from all of our families.
I just a mazel tov for everyone. We're so happy that this happened. I mean, we had to cancel it when things first started, and then we rescheduled it when we had opened back up. And then we had to then shut down again. So I'm so thrilled that this is really the first time that we're having a large group of people in Temple. So, and it's to honor you and to thank you for your commitment and for your ongoing support. I'm going to call you up, and you have your Bible over there. Gosh, a whole crew. And I'll give you your certificate. So Lucy Adlin. And Rosemary Ayers.
No handshakes, but elbows.
Elbows.
Wonderful.
And Aliza Bachner. Sam Humphreys. Cora Kromberg. Lucy Meyer. Charlie Reiner. Brooke Rosenthal. AJ Schiff. Josh Thorner. And Rena Zucker. And another favorite part of confirmation is always when we get to celebrate afterwards with an oneg. So I hope as you head out this evening, you'll see that there's some bags for you to take with our confirmation oneg to go. The best we could do, but we hope that at least it'll give you a little taste of the sweetness that we want to impart on you this evening.
Right. So what we're going to do, we're going to return the Torah to the Aron HaKodesh. We have some closing prayers, of course, Aleinu, and before the Kaddish, I know Lucy Meyer has a beautiful reading as well, very meaningful. But let's return the Torah to the Aron HaKodesh. And if you are able, please rise on page 375.
Hodo al eretz v'shamayim v'yarem keren le'amo tehila lechol chasidav livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Let us continue with Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kuhiei hadratzot, velo samanu ki mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, ve'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Shehu netei shamayim ve'oser haaretz, u'moshev yakaro b'shamayim ima'al, u'shchinatu zot, b'gov hereromim, hu Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu efes zulato, kakatu b'torato, v'datayom b'hashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim imal, ve'al haaretz mitachat einod. Vaya Adonai, melech hakol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
In my house, the late winter and early spring season signifies a few different things. Purim, Passover, my dad's birthday, and the beginning of awards season. The Grammys, the Oscars, and the Tony Awards all fall during this time period, and while it is always fun to watch the performances and the ever-changing fashion, there is one particular segment that is a constant every year. Amid all the celebration and acknowledgement of hard work and accomplishments, there's a specific time to honor and appreciate the industry individuals who have passed away in the recent year. In preparation for confirmation, I have given a lot of consideration to what my participation would be in this service. What would be personally meaningful? Like award ceremonies, in Jewish observance, we recognize those loved ones who have recently passed away or on the anniversary of one's passing. And we do so whenever we gather in prayer. I have decided to use my moments of reflection to discuss this past year and just a few of the special and influential individuals who left us, but forever left their mark. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the first Jewish woman to serve on the Supreme Court. She was a pioneer in women's rights and even became a cultural pop icon. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, the chief rabbi of Great Britain. He was known as one of the world's leading moral and intellectual Jewish voices. Stephen Ross, a Holocaust survivor who founded the New England Holocaust Memorial. David Schneer, a well-respected and beloved professor of Jewish studies at the University of Colorado Boulder. He died of brain cancer at the age of 48. Arnold Spielberg, father of director Steven Spielberg, who helped make the USC Shoah Foundation into a leading archive of Holocaust testimony. Countless individuals, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and grandparents whose lives were lost to COVID-19. And on a personal note, my grandfather, Bernard Gottlieb, who passed away this summer. A dedicated scientist and physician, he was a role model of hard work, intellectual curiosity, and devoted to his family. I mention these individuals for the impact they have had on our lives and for the examples they have left to me and my generation. As a confirmand, I have completed my formal Jewish education, but I realize that my learning is not ending. Actually, my obligation to Jewish learning, living, and giving is just starting. These lives that I mentioned, and so many others, examples of Jewish contributions, serve as motivation and wonderful examples of how best to live with purpose and meaning. The Mourner's Kaddish is a beautiful recitation that honors those who are no longer with us, but those who will always live on in our hearts and minds. The Mourner's Kaddish never mentioned the words death, but rather is a celebration of life and legacy. It is a mitzvah and a true act of kindness. As we listen to the names read tonight and during other Jewish observances, I hope we will realize that in each yard site, there is Jewish life that should be remembered and honored. These are not easy times, and 2020 has seen a lot of loss. But learning about the actions and legacies of these Jewish role models will continue to inspire me and make me proud to be a Jewish young woman. I will continue my desire to live and celebrate my Judaism, to honor our Jewish history, and to fight for our future.
Yes, your call. That was so beautiful. Thank you, Lucy.
On the heels of those beautiful words and framing from Lucy, this Shabbat, we're marking the recent deaths of James Douglas, the grandfather of Jake Douglas, and of Jim Waller, the brother of Sharon and Lee Keene. We're in the Shiva, the 7 days of mourning for Mitchell Carness, the brother-in-law of Beverly and the late Larry Sunshine, uncle of Liba, Brian, Roger, and Stuart. We're in the Shilashim, the 30 days of mourning for Miriam Epstein, friend of Elaine Yaffe, Dorothea Flax, the mother of Barbara and Richard Fink, Jerry Kitchen, the sister of Nancy and Steve Letman, Judy Landsberg-Losher, sister of Andy Forlina and aunt of Abby, and Sherry Roth, the sister of Andy and Cindy Pollitt. In this Shabbat, we're marking the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of the passings of Milton Adler, Zelda Appelman, Sanford Boardman, Lewis Cohen, Michael Cohen, Rebecca Cooper, Kitty Davner, Martin Farber, Steve Farber, Betty Feinstein, Max Fisher, Cindy Fowler, Seymour Gabriel, Harry Goldman, Alan Goldstein, Morris Hamerling, Catherine Harrison, Charles Kalnitsky, Irving Kaplan, Bernard Karshmer, Seymour Katzen, Alan D. Laff, Louis Landerson, M. David Levine, Bud Levitt, Esther Levy, Sonia Lewis, Irving Marcus, Rose Sachs Mesnick, David Michael, Sylvia Milzer, David Monblatt, Jack Morse, Ann Nadler, Jacob Neufeld, Sally Nowak, May Ono, Elizabeth Post, Sylvia Rosenthaler, David Rothschild, Meyer Rubin, Yedida Radowski, Charles Simons, Betty Strauss, Harold Susan, Rebecca Thaw, Suzanne Troutwine, Vivian Wilner, and Rudy Whitrock. And if anyone else is observing a yard site tonight. With their memories among us, we rise, page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudashah barechu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah minishemaya V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We say zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Please be seated. Tomorrow morning, join us for our Shabbat morning minyan at 9 a.m. and then Havdalah with me at 7 p.m. on Zoom as we continue our Shabbat experiences together. And other than that, we have so many exciting things coming, so please continue to check your emails. I know we sometimes send many of them, but stick with us because it means that there are really good things that we're doing, and we want to share that with everyone. So stay tuned for more information about Passover, and Zoomathon Part 2 is coming mid-April, so lots of exciting things to come. We're really looking forward to it, so please keep checking your emails so that we can all continue to connect together.
So Rabbi, why don't you stay up here? If the kids will just go ahead and put your books down and stand up. And I want you to look at Mom and Dad, and Rabbi Coleman and I will have the pleasure. Yeah, you can get the books later. One of the things that we didn't get this year was a retreat to La Forêt. It was the first time in well over 50 years that hasn't happened. We had a little retreat here in the chapel, a time of some blessing. And the hope is that as we conclude this service with the Birkat Kohanim, with a blessing from Torah, that you will realize that the blessings come to you, not from outside, not from well-meaning rabbis or even loving parents and grandparents and family. The blessings are already yours. They've been yours from the moment you came into this world from God. What parents get to do, what rabbis and teachers and friends get to do is to remind you that you're a blessing, and to urge you to nurture your blessing and to shine your blessing and to make this world a better place. And so feel that blessing that's within you as we say, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav alecha v'choneka, Yasa Adonai panav alecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine upon you, and may you feel God's presence with you now and always.
Amen.
Amen.
So now we're going to close with a really cool Beatles song, Here Comes the Sun. We got to do something to lift the spirit up. Right? We got the whole service with these masks on, right? And so, Dan, we got to do some little Simon Tov and Mazel Tov or something.
Absolutely.
Well, I tell you why. Because we don't have the crowd. We don't have the smiling faces. You can see their eyes. There's a lot of moist eyes out there. But can we loosen up a little bit and give these wonderful students a Simon Tov and Mazel Tov? Can we do that? All right, ready?
Simon Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simon Tov, Simon Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simon Tov, Simon Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simon Tov, Yehi lanu, Yehi lanu, Yehi lanu, Od Yachol Yisrael, Yehi lanu, Od Yachol Yisrael, Yehi lanu, Od Yachol Yisrael, Yehi lanu, Od Yachol Yisrael.
And now with that, who can hear and feel that sun coming. Get your song sheets out.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here.
You guys know it, come on.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles returning to the faces. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, I feel the ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Can we give a wonderful cheer for the confirmation class of 5780? I know, Josh, you're going to play a little bit of music right now or right after the thing?
Right now, as we're walking out.
Introducing Josh Stoner on the piano.
Just roll through it. Perfect. Fine, I'll go. Yeah. Got it. Chesed yibane, yadadai lai dai, yadadai lai. Olam chesed yibane, yadadai lai dai, yadadai lai. Olam chesed yibane, yadadai lai dai, yadadai lai. Olam chesed yibane, yadadai, yadadai, yadadai. I will build this world from love, yadadai, yadadai, yadadai. And you must build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai, yadadai. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, 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 then God will build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai, yadadai.
Adonai oz l'mo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Let God be in each of our lives to give us the strength to keep on through this COVID pandemic, to find within ourselves the love and the inspiration, to find joy and smiles that shine through Mass. Shabbat Shalom.